Man, f Sonic Heroes, I hate this game.
This game freaking sucks!
Sonic Heroes is so bad it robbed me of my happiness.
If Sonic Heroes was a human, then it would want to say bless you to someone, but it wouldn't do it because it's too socially awkward.
This game sucks f***ing balls.
I hate Sonic Heroes! This game freaking sucks!
Sonic Heroes gave me COVID.
Sonic Heroes is the biggest pile of trash I have ever seen.
Sonic Heroes gave me depression, anxiety, stage 4 cancer, killed my family, and now I'm alone on the street, homeless. I slightly dislike Sonic Heroes.
Sonic Heroes is a good game and I'm tired of pretending it's not. So now that the Sonic Hate Avengers got to say what they needed to say, let's actually talk about this game in my point of view, which is an extremely positive one. I have always loved Sonic Heroes. It's a wonderful game. I don't necessarily think that Sonic Heroes is in any way deserving of the S tier, not by a long shot, nor is this anywhere near the best Sonic game of all time, nor the best 3D even Sonic game of all time. This is just a great game overall, but it's not the best Sonic game. Is this game better than Sonic Colors? Yes. Is this game better than Sonic Adventure 2? No. Is this game better than Sonic Generations? Yes. Please do not murder me. I think that it's better than Generations. That's my opinion though. But here we go. Let's talk about Sonic Heroes now. We're gonna start off with the gameplay, the story, and all those juicy bits to really encapsulate what makes Heroes Heroes and why I love the game so much. And when the video comes close to an end, it seems like we're going to have a very, very special guest on. Looks like you're gonna have to watch it until the end of the video to, no, I'm not gonna hit you guys with that one. Anyway, let's start off with the gameplay of Sonic Heroes, because this is where a lot of the divisiveness really comes in, and a lot of the reasons why people dislike Sonic Heroes so much. The gameplay of Sonic Heroes is perhaps the most innovative in the Sonic franchise. It strays away from the tried and true formula of the adventure games, opting instead for a brand new formula, which allows you to switch on the go between 3 different types of characters. There are the speed characters, which are the fastest of the 3, the flight characters, which allow you to fly, and the power characters, which allow you to break obstacles that the speed and flight characters cannot. The level design is built around those characters in mind. Parts of the levels will encourage you to use the flight characters, while other parts will encourage you to use power or speed characters to further navigate the levels better. Each of the 3 characters usually have different things depending the button combination. So on a GameCube controller, this is how it's usually laid out. Your Y and X buttons are your buttons you use to switch characters on the go. You can click A and A, which the speed characters perform a homing attack, the flight characters will fly higher, and the power characters will do a hover dive, which essentially is a sort of glide that allows you to go higher when on fans, or just sort of glide down towards the ground. Click B while running, and Sonic and Shadow will do a light speed dash, while Amy will use her hammer and Espio will turn invisible. Clicking B for the flight characters will perform a move called the Thunder Shoot, where the flight characters will shoot out their companions onto nearby enemies, destroying them. And the power characters essentially perform a 3-punch combo. Pressing B in mid-air will allow the speed characters to perform a tornado move, which allows the characters to pole swing higher and is also used in combat. Clicking B in mid-air for the flight characters still results in a Thunder Shoot, but clicking B in mid-air with the power characters will have the power characters throw their companions into the enemies, dealing a lot of damage. The main problem that people have with Sonic Heroes controls is the fact that the characters can feel very slippery sometimes. I agree, they really do feel very slippery at times. To fix this though, you can either switch to a flying character and your controls will be much tighter, or you can get used to the slipperiness, which in my case worked for both by the end of my playthrough, even with the first team. And by that time I already found the controls a lot more fun to play with, and a lot more fun in general. But I can totally understand if people dislike this part of the game, because yeah, it can definitely deter you from liking Sonic Heroes. In fact, it's one of the 2 reasons why Sonic Heroes does not sit in the S tier for me as one of my favorite Sonic games of all time. We'll get to the second reason later, but now let's talk about the level design of Sonic Heroes. The level design of Sonic Heroes is another thing I can sit and defend for a very long time, because while yes, I can understand why people dislike it, I love it with all my heart. I don't think this is the best level design in Sonic ever, not by a long shot, but it is really fun level design. The way the levels are built around all 3 characters in mind, and how there's different paths depending on which character you choose to go through, it's ingenious of Sonic Team to do this. Moreover, I think the level design reflects the state of Sonic Team at the time. Takashi Iizuka, who was head of Sonic Team, was the only person working on the level design, considering the actual level designer got sick and almost died, actually. So Iizuka-san worked tirelessly on this thing, and actually suffered from severe insomnia and lost 20 pounds due to the development of Sonic Heroes, and because of him being lead level designer now as well. But here's the thing, the level design is great. Again, I don't think it's the best in the series, but I don't also think it's enemy room after enemy room, because if you know how to dispatch of a lot of enemies quickly, the levels become a lot more fun to get through faster. Heroes' level design works essentially the same way as it does in Sonic Adventure 2. You rack up a bunch of rings, make sure you don't get hit, destroy a bunch of enemies, grab as many points as you can, get through the level as fast as you can, and you nab that sweet A rank. And that is hella satisfying. I find myself constantly returning to Sonic Heroes' level design, and while yes, I'm not going to replay Team Chaotix's levels, because those levels really do suck, but at the same time, there is some charm to finding these levels. They are essentially a reincarnation of the Master Emerald treasure hunting that we see in Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2. And it's not done as good as those, but still, there is some novelty to them. Again, I'm not going to replay them, but I'm not going to say they were outright dog shit, because not all of them were. The story of Sonic Heroes is, while very cheesy, one I love with my absolute heart. The way it's just made is so simple yet so much fun. Eggman sends Team Sonic a letter, and he's like, I'm gonna conquer the world in 3 days, and what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna stop me? And Sonic's like, alright, let's crack that Eggman wide open. Let's party. I love that so much. Amy and her team are off to find the 2 stolen Chows and Froggy. Team Dark wants to find Eggman to get revenge, Omega, and to find answers for Shadow. And Team Chaotix is just out for money. And honestly, that's probably one of the funniest parts of this game. Just Team Chaotix is just... Team Sonic is like there for to save the world. Team Dark is for revenge. Team Rose is to save someone. Team Chaotix, they just want the money. it's hilarious. I love it. And the way that Neo Metal reveals himself is so cool. Neo Metal Sonic in general is such a cool design. He's such a cool character. And I'm so disappointed to say that this is the last time we get such good Metal Sonic as a character. We'll never get Metal Sonic this good ever again. Maybe we will in the future, but in the last 20 years of Sonic Heroes' existence, we have never gotten a Metal Sonic this good. Now here comes one thing from Sonic Heroes that I genuinely will criticize and cannot defend. The fact that you have to play through all 4 characters to get to last story. This is dumb. Like, I understand why they did it, but it's dumb. These characters have such long levels. I like these long levels, but when you play through all 4 teams through essentially the same levels with slightly altered level design, this is where the game starts to like dog on you. You don't want to replay these levels over and over again, and in general it's just not fun. The thing is, I don't know any other way they could have done this unless they just don't have a last story, but it's a really bad way, and I'm not gonna excuse this genuinely bad mistake that they made. The last 2 things we'll touch upon is the OST and the special stages, because holy crap, the OST goes hard in this game. Sonic Heroes, the main theme of the game, is cheesy, but it's just such a jam to listen to. Like, whenever I'm down, I either listen to this song or We Can, Team Sonic's theme, because I am gonna be completely serious. There's almost no other song in the Sonic franchise that makes me feel this happy, this upbeat, and so ready for anything that life throws at me. I don't know what it is about this song, but it just genuinely makes me happy. And the thing is, each character or each team gets their own theme, and every single team has a wonderful theme. Team Dark's theme, called This Machine, is so grungy, so deep, so edgy, but at the same time, it's not like bad edge. It kinda slaps. Follow Me, Team Rose's theme, is another upbeat and happy song, and honestly is the best theme for Amy ever. This and What If from Sonic Frontiers by far clear as Amy's best themes ever. And Team Chaotix is an absolute jam to listen to. I mean, every single time that Team Chaotix thing happens in the background, I just feel happy. It's a great song. The level songs are all awesome. Ocean Palace, Grand Metropolis, Final Fortress, Egg Fleet, Bingo Highway, Hang Castle, all are amazing. I love them all. There's not a singular level song that I genuinely dislike. The special stages are the last thing we'll talk about before we have our very special guest come in. The special stages in this game are kind of dog water. They suck. Just because of how limited the controls are. This is actually the first time the boost formula ever exists in a Sonic game. Because when you collect those orbs, you literally boost when you click B. I mean, cool, but at the same time, kinda sucks. I don't know, I just do not like these special stages whatsoever. They kinda suck. But as you saw from the beginning, not everyone shares this opinion of Sonic Heroes. In fact, there's a huge amount of people who dislike this game quite a lot. And one of my close friends does. Bringing on SuperCon, absolutely amazing and wonderful content creator. I am so happy to have you on here, SuperCon. Introduce yourself and then dog on Sonic Heroes as much as you want to.
Alright, so Sonic Heroes, I mean, it's a game.
So Sonic Heroes is an interesting game for me. While NeedleMouse did talk about why he and others really love this game, some of us, however, are not really that much of a fan of the game. And I myself am one of those people. Sonic Heroes is a game that many people loved as a kid, but as I got older, now they all of a sudden hate it. Me, on the other hand, that's not entirely the case. You normally think that this is your typical Sonic fan hating on Sonic Heroes, but that's not the kind of Sonic fan I am. I don't love Sonic Heroes, but at the same time, I don't despise it like other people do. Now, do I think the game is up there with games like Unleashed, Frontiers, or the adventure games? Well, no, not really. But is it down to the levels of games that I absolutely despise, like God of War Ascension, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, or Marvel's Avengers? No, of course not. That'd be silly. I mean, these three pieces of garbage are the worst thing to ever happen to gaming. If you know who I am, then you know that I've clowned on Sonic Heroes before on numerous occasions, sometimes as a joke. But do I actually despise the game like others do? Let's go over it in the remaining minutes I have so this doesn't drag on like a video essay or something. So first off, when it comes to Sonic Heroes, we need to look and see when this game came out. This was the next 3D Sonic game after Sonic Adventure 2, and Sonic Adventure 2 is one of the most well-received 3D Sonic games of all time still to this very day. So a follow-up of the sorts was imminent. And with the already amazing gameplay style of that game, what did Sonic Team do after the amazing success of Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2? They of course added on to the Sonic Adventure storyline and made the gameplay from the adventure games and made a great follow-up to Adventure 2. Is what I would say if this wasn't Sega we were talking about here, and where they took a look at something very successful they have with Sonic, like the adventure style, and just said, yeah, this is good and all, but let's do something else. So the gameplay in Heroes is an interesting choice, to be honest. Gone are the characters having their own levels on their own. Instead, you now play as all three at once. And while that sounds cool on paper, I kind of just go, eh. It really kind of takes away from the Sonic experience, in my opinion. Even as a kid, I remember I didn't really want to play as Tails or Knuckles in this. I just wanted to play as Sonic. Now, when I say I didn't want to play as Tails and Knuckles, I don't mean not at all. On the contrary, I loved and still love playing as other characters in Sonic games, but not this way, to be perfectly honest. I much prefer playing them on their own, and I think a lot of people can agree with me on this. Having all three in one go, again, sounds cool on paper, but designing the whole game around it is kinda to me. It's honestly like a hit or miss, and you can tell because 50% of people like this game, and 50% hate this game. Honestly, they then took this idea again and kind of perfected it in games like Sonic 06, where the characters are with you in the level, but they have their own specific moments in the level for like a minute or two, then back to the main character of the story. Absolute perfection here. Is this the worst thing in the world? No, not really, mainly because the level design does make up for it in the end and is actually well built around it for this game. Most people would usually say the level design is actually kind of cheap in this game, but me personally, I think that it's actually pretty well built for these three playable characters, and they did a nice job with that. I will give Sonic Heroes that. But I wouldn't personally want this style of gameplay for Sonic in a future game, really. Would I want this in the next game nowadays? Absolutely not. No. Now, despite the fact that Sonic Heroes is a team-based game with team-based gameplay, that is not all Sonic Heroes has to offer. You not only have one story with Team Sonic, but you've got other playable character teams too as well to play as with. Characters you can play as if you want to play as them while playing throughout the game. At any given time, it is not entirely mandatory at all, right? I mean, surely after beating the main one, it's not like you're going to be forced to, you know, forcefully play through every single other story campaign, right? You know, the one where basically is hard mode and literally a mission mode. Like, surely it's not going to be mandatory to do all that in order to get to the final story, right? Like, surely they wouldn't do something like that, really? Right? So you remember how in Adventure 1 you play with other playable characters in their own story campaigns throughout the game, and each of them having a fun, unique experience? And it required you to play as all of them to get to the final story? Well, this game does the same, but instead of having each playable character having their own unique gameplay and playthrough, it's just copy and pasted with a different story. And change the level up a little bit per story. One's easy mode, one's hard mode, which is basically expand the level even longer, and also a mission mode. And it's mandatory, not optional. Now sure, you can defend the fact that each story does have its own unique story, but that's kind of a standard for having other playable character campaigns. But having the same gameplay style, copy and pasted, and forced to play through it 3 more times after Team Sonic, not fun. No, this just feels like game padding. It feels like they're padding out for time to make the game long, which I think now this might be the longest Sonic game ever. If it was optional and not mandatory, then maybe I'd honestly like the game. But no, this really kind of takes me out of it, and honestly is the very reason I still haven't completed Sonic Heroes to this very day. but that also has a lot to do with the massive amount of slippery controls in this game. Like, my lord, does it feel like Sonic has butter on his shoes or something? I feel like with one wrong move, half the time I'm gonna mess up entirely. And somehow it gets even worse with games like Shadow the Hedgehog, where in that game, it's even more slippery somehow. While Sonic Heroes isn't my most hated Sonic game ever, it isn't my most loved. But there are elements I do love about Heroes though. I love the soundtrack. It's one of my all-time favorite Sonic OSTs probably ever. The voice acting from the adventure era here is at its absolute peak right here. Also, the levels look really nice. I love the themes, and there's probably some of the most iconic stages ever, like Seaside Hill. That is probably one of the most absolute iconic Sonic stages to this very day. And the story here is really, really good. For me, what makes Heroes not that much of an enjoyable time for me is, if you haven't already figured it out, it's some of the gameplay aspects of Sonic Heroes. If these three things that I mentioned here was not as bad as they are, Sonic Heroes could be one of my favorite Sonic games. But as it stands, it's kind of just in my category when it comes to games. Who knows though? Maybe people are right, and this game is actually really good. Who knows? Perhaps I'm on the wrong side. Maybe someday I'll go back to Sonic Heroes and see if it's as good as people say. Maybe one day I will. Thanks for having me here, NeedleMouse. It was such a pleasure to be able to be a part of this video here today.
Well, thank you for joining me, SuperCon. I am so glad that we collabed together, man. I hope to see you again and collab with you some other time. But back to Sonic Heroes. As you guys clearly saw, clearly not everyone likes Sonic Heroes. And that's completely okay. But let me tell you, I love this game with all of my heart. I think this is one of the best 3D Sonic games of all time. The best? No. One of the best? Yes. And I'm not the only one. Sonic Heroes is a great game. If you disagree, that's okay. But if you agree, I'm happy that you have the right opinion. No, I'm just kidding. But with that, let's end the video on a more of a positive note. So, I'm gonna bring out the Sonic Heroes lovers. Take it away, guys.
You know, Sonic Heroes is so good that I had sex with it 12 times, and the 12 characters that you play as, those are my kids.
Honestly, I don't know why you guys hate Sonic Heroes so much. If it wasn't for Sonic Heroes, I wouldn't be with my girlfriend. It's what I would say if I had a girlfriend.
Yo, Sonic Heroes is like the best sex I've ever had. And I've never had sex before.
Sonic Adventure 3 cured my depression, found me a girlfriend, and resurrected my dead cat. What's a Sonic Heroes?
I think Sonic Heroes is just like a great experience with a premium bottle of wine.
Sonic Heroes made me feel like I finally have a girlfriend.
Why am I always alone? You know what? Sonic Heroes really ain't that bad. I finished the game. It's not as bad as I thought. You know, of course, I'm still homeless and I have stage 4 cancer and my parents are still gone. But hey, the game was alright.
With all that positivity out of the way, thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you're all having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you all next time. Ciao.